You saved up some money. Good. Now it's sitting in an account quietly losing value every single year. Nobody teaches this part, so let's walk through exactly what to do with your first money, in plain order, no hype. Let's start with the uncomfortable part. Money in a normal savings account feels safe, and in one way it is. But prices go up every year. That's inflation, and it's run around 3% a year on average. If your cash earns 1% while prices rise 3%, you're quietly losing about 2% of your buying power every year without touching a thing. $10,000 today buys noticeably less in 10 years. So the real question isn't whether investing is risky. Sitting entirely in cash is also a bet, just a slow, guaranteed loss one. Investing means putting money into things that tend to grow faster than prices over time, like the broad stock market, which has averaged roughly 7% a year after inflation over the long haul. That's not a promise, and it isn't smooth. But it's the mechanism that actually builds wealth. Before you buy anything, though, there's one decision that matters more than what you buy. Let's cover that next. Here's the mistake almost everyone makes. They pick an investment before they pick the account it lives in. The account is the wrapper, and the right wrapper saves you real money on taxes. Start with anything your employer matches. If your workplace retirement plan, a 401k in the US or a workplace pension in the UK, gives free matching money, take all of it first. That's an instant 100% return you cannot beat anywhere. After the match, look at a tax-advantaged account you control, a Roth or traditional IRA in the US, a stocks and shares ISA in the UK. These let your money grow with little or no tax, which compounds into a large difference over decades. Only after those are handled do you use a regular taxable brokerage account. Same investments, less tax shelter. So the order is simple: match first, tax-advantaged next, taxable last. Once the account is open, you finally get to decide what goes inside it. Let's talk about that. Now the fun part, and it's simpler than the industry wants you to believe. You do not need to pick individual stocks. Picking winners is genuinely hard, and most professionals who do it full-time fail to beat the overall market over time. So don't compete with them. Buy the whole market instead. A low-cost broad index fund holds hundreds or thousands of companies at once in a single purchase. A total stock market fund or an S&P 500 fund covers the biggest US companies. A total world fund adds everywhere else. When one company sinks, others rise, and you own all of them, so you capture the overall growth without betting on any single name. Look for the words index fund or ETF, and a very low expense ratio, ideally under 0.2%. That's it. One or two broad funds is a complete, sensible portfolio for a beginner. Owning the right fund is half the game. The other half is how you put money in, which is where most people trip. Let's fix that. The instinct is to wait for the perfect moment, to buy when the market dips and feel clever. Almost nobody does this well, including the pros. Trying to time the market usually means sitting in cash during the days that matter most, and missing just a handful of the market's best days can wipe out most of your long-term gains. So don't try. Use dollar cost averaging instead. That just means investing a fixed amount on a fixed schedule, say $200 on the first of every month, no matter what the news is doing. When prices are low, your money buys more shares. When prices are high, it buys fewer. Over time you get a sensible average price and you never have to guess. Then automate it. Set up an automatic transfer and an automatic purchase so it happens without you. This removes emotion, which is the single biggest threat to your returns. Speaking of threats, there are a few quiet ones that drain returns even when you do everything else right. Let's name them. Two things destroy returns silently, and both are avoidable. First, fees. An expense ratio sounds tiny. 1% a year feels like nothing. But over 30 years, a 1% fee can eat away roughly a quarter of your final balance compared to a fund charging almost nothing. That's tens of thousands of dollars for doing literally the same thing, just in a cheaper fund. So always check the expense ratio, and avoid anyone charging you high fees to actively manage what an index fund does for pennies. Second, your own behavior. The market will drop, sometimes 20 or 30%. It always has, and it always recovers eventually. The people who lose real money are the ones who panic and sell at the bottom, locking in the loss, then buy back after it's recovered. The fix is to expect the drops in advance and simply do nothing. A boring, cheap fund you leave alone beats a clever, expensive one you keep tinkering with. So let's turn all of this into one simple sequence you can run this week. Here's the whole thing in 4 steps. 1. Open the right account. Grab any employer match first, then a tax-advantaged account, a Roth IRA or a stocks and shares ISA. It takes about 15 minutes online. 2. Fund it with an amount you won't need soon, and keep your emergency cash separate and untouched. Even $50 or $100 to start is fine. The habit matters more than the size. 3. Buy one low-cost broad index fund, a total market or S&P 500 fund, and check that expense ratio is tiny. 4. Automate a fixed monthly contribution and then, genuinely, ignore it. Don't check it daily. Don't react to headlines. Let time and compounding do the heavy lifting. That's the entire beginner playbook. Not exciting, but it quietly works better than almost everything that sounds exciting. Start with step 1 today. So, invest because cash loses to inflation, pick the tax-advantaged account first, buy a cheap broad index fund, automate it, watch the fees, and don't panic sell. Boring, ordered, and it works. If this made investing feel less overwhelming, stick around. We break down money one calm step at a time here on Money Mechanics.